What happens when you write off a 6'2", 19-year-old forward in the NHL that has all the talent in the world in his sophomore season after a bad stretch? You usually end up looking stupid. Let's talk a little bit about it. Open Ice Hits with Scotty 2 Hockey. What's up, guys? It's every Leafs fan's mom's favorite YouTuber back in action once again. And in case you couldn't tell by the intro, what I'd like to talk about today is Jesperi Kotkaniemi. And mainly what I'd like to talk about is how damn impressive he is in these playoffs. This kid looks like a player reborn. What I said last year in his rookie year, coming into this sophomore season after his rookie year ended in the off season, I said I thought he was going to be a 50-point player. He was going to be a lot more nasty physically. He was going to put up more goals per game. He was just going to be better all around. And unfortunately, in his sophomore season, it didn't turn out that way. But he got sent to Laval for a bit. COVID happened. Somehow the Habs, even after a terrible season, found himself in the playoffs. And now this kid looks like a player reborn. Is he ever playing awesome hockey? We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about his rookie season first. What we expected when we got him and what he looked like. In his rookie season, coming into the NHL, he was drafted 3rd overall in a very, very deep draft class that had Quinn Hughes, that had Rasmus Dahlin, had all kinds of other good players in it. Andrei Svechnikov, Brady Tkachuk, the list goes on of good players that were in that draft. And this year, with Jesperi Kotkaniemi struggling like he did getting sent to the NHL, a lot of people said he was going to be a bust. But in his rookie season, it couldn't have been more of the opposite. In his rookie season, in 79 games played, he showed an impressive hockey IQ, an amazing laser wrist shot, good defensive awareness. His speed needed a bit of work, but he could keep up with the pace of the NHL, even though he did get a little bit burned out at the end of the season. And in 79 games played, he had pretty impressive offensive totals for a guy that was the youngest player in the league, playing 13 minutes a game at center in one of the hotbeds of hockey, like Montreal Canadiens, playing on the 3rd line at center, only 13 minutes a game, and he put up 34 points. He had 11 goals, 23 assists, 34 points, was a +1, so he wasn't a minus playing center in Montreal on the 3rd line. Most players in his position at his age would have been a minus player, would have made a lot more mistakes than what he did, and he was pretty disciplined. He only had 26 penalty minutes. He did contribute on the power play. He had 5 power play points, an 8.2 shooting percentage. His average time on ice was only 13 minutes and 44 seconds per game. He had 41 blocks, 66 hits, 50 turnovers, and his face-off percentage was 45.7%, but he didn't take a pile of face-offs. In a lot of cases, the wingers took the face-offs for him because he was playing with some pretty solid wingers last year on that 3rd line, and a lot of players from Montreal last year overperformed. Unfortunately, this year, it wasn't the case for him as well as the team. They're doing good now. They're looking good in the playoffs, even though they lost last night's game. But in this season, it just didn't go the way the Habs wanted. It didn't go the way Kotkaniemi wanted. In 36 games played, he had 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points. He was a -11. His hockey IQ just wasn't there. He was getting knocked off the puck easily. His defense was terrible in the regular season this year. Like, he did not look like the same player he did in his rookie season. It's almost like he expected it to be easier than what it was. And when the pressure hit him of playing in Montreal and players adapted to his style of play and players started to figure him out on other teams and it wasn't as easy for him and the players that he's playing around him, like his line mates, weren't thriving like they were in 2018-19, it really showed on KK. He was getting knocked off the puck easily. He couldn't create anything in his own zone. Defensively, he was getting blown right by. He was getting hit a lot. He did look a little bit better physically. Like, he bulked up for sure. He looked like more of a man, but the game just wasn't there last year for KK. In 36 games played, he only had 8 points. He had 23 penalty minutes, so in half the season, half the games he played the season before, but less than half the games he played the season before, he had almost the same amount of penalty minutes. So the frustrations were definitely there for KK. They were definitely showing, and he was definitely making some bonehead decisions. And me, along with tons of other people, were so let down by his play in the regular season this year. But so far in the playoffs, he has definitely redeemed himself. But last year, in 13 minutes played, he did have a 10.9 shooting percentage. So that went up. His shooting percentage went up almost 2% last year. And he had 51 hits in half the amount of time. So he had almost as many hits as he had in 2018-19 in half the amount of games played. And he also had 16 blocks as well as 21 turnovers. So he, like I said, he was making some bonehead decisions on the ice this year in the regular season. But in 7 games played so far in this playoffs, He looks amazing. I don't know if the facial hair is bringing out the best from him or what. I don't. He looks like more of a man with that facial hair. He looks bigger. He looks nastier, and he looks like the future of Montreal's top six at that center position, along with Nick Suzuki. These young players are amazing, and as well, I will be doing a video on Nick Suzuki, a more in-depth video on Nick Suzuki, because myself personally, as much as I love KK, I 100% project Nick Suzuki to be the future #1 center for the Montreal Canadiens. KK's offense is amazing. He's nasty. He has size. He's going to be an awesome #2 center for the Montreal Canadiens for years to come. But as far as the 200-foot game goes, he's just not where Suzuki is. Maybe he may be one day. Maybe he may keep progressing like he is right now in the playoffs and surpass Suzuki and be our future #1 center. But right now, so far in these playoffs and in the regular season and what I've seen from both their games, Nick Suzuki is hands down the future of the Montreal Canadiens. Center position. He is a young Patrice Bergeron. The hockey guy has said it. All the people in the media have said it. I've said it even before the hockey guy said it. If you guys listen to me and Talking Habs podcast, I was saying that almost a week and a half ago, that he reminds me of Patrice Bergeron, and now all of a sudden everybody else is saying it. I know they didn't hear me say it, obviously, but it's a weird coincidence, and it just goes to show that his game reflects what kind of player he's going to be. Nick Suzuki's going to be an amazing player, but Jesperi Kotkaniemi is blowing me away in these playoffs. So impressive, so impressive. 7 games played, 4 goals, 0 assists, good for 4 points. He's a +5. He has 6 penalty minutes. They all came in the last game against the Philadelphia Flyers, where even though he had those penalty minutes, he had an awesome game. He was laying nasty hits. He hit the post twice. He had a couple of good opportunities. He was getting to the front of the net, and that's one thing that's really standing out for me in Kotkaniemi with Kotkaniemi in these playoffs. He has a nose for the net now. This year in the season, he just wasn't driving to the net. He just wasn't getting to those dirty areas. I'd see him on the line, and he just wasn't working to create offense. And in the playoffs, it couldn't be more of the opposite. He is battling to get to the front of the net. He's making chippy plays in front. He has two nice rebound goals where he got a second chance opportunity and he buried it. He's there for that kind of play. And not only that, he got a laser over wrist shot. He's laying a ton of hits. He's putting fear in other players out there. A 20-year-old kid his age who looked like a baby in his rookie season looks like one hell of a nasty center for the Montreal Canadiens right now, who's producing offensively, who's awesome defensively, who's physical, who has size. The world is his oyster. The future is bright for the Montreal Canadiens when it comes to the center position. Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, even players like Philip Deneau, who eventually, if they do stick around with the Habs, will get bumped down by these young players. I love Deneau. He just doesn't have the offensive upside. Suzuki and Kotkaniemi do. And his shooting percentage is unreal in these playoffs. 44.4% shooting percentage. Like, unreal. And he's taken a ton of shots. He has 28 hits in these playoffs, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers as well. So he isn't making as many turnovers. And in 7 games played, he's only like 38 hits away from his career high in hits in 7 games played, and he put that up in 79 games played in his rookie season. So way more nastier when it comes to the physical part of his game. Way better defense. His offense is clicking. His shot is an absolute laser. He hit the post twice last night. Suzuki hit the post last night as well. Carter Hart had to be sharp last night, and he was, unfortunately. The Habs did lose the game, but I really liked what I've seen from these young players, and I'm in no way counting them out of this Philly series. If these young players keep playing like they're playing, Carey Price puts up the save percentage he has right now, the Habs are a legitimate threat in these playoffs, and they could make a miracle run, and I myself am praying for it. The Lafreniere hopes are out the window now, so let's just pray for a Stanley Cup, guys. And with young players like Jesperi Kotkaniemi leading the way, if we don't get one this year, the future is very bright, and I see one coming, 1, maybe 2, maybe even a future dynasty with these young players. Cole Caulfield on the way up, Alexander Romanov playing next year. God knows who they're going to draft in this draft. Norlander tearing it up in Sweden. Kotkaniemi finding his game like we've never seen before. He looks like a player reborn. Nick Suzuki's been excellent from the get-go. How can you not love the prospects the Montreal Canadiens have, the players the Montreal Canadiens have? There's been very few letdowns in these playoffs for me, but the absolute standout player besides Carey Price to stand out amongst the forwards is hands down by far and away Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I expected this from Nick Suzuki. I expected Nick Suzuki to be good in these playoffs. What he's doing doesn't surprise me by any means, but what I've seen from Kotkaniemi in the regular season, I was like, this guy is regressing so bad. He might even end up being a bust. I didn't want to buy into the bust talk. By no means was I saying he was a bust. But his game wasn't reflecting what I thought he was. And in this playoffs, it's blowing me away. It's completely the opposite. I love what I see from the kid. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of Jesperi Kotkaniemi so far in these playoffs. And do you think the Habs are going to get it done? If you've seen my prediction video, I got the Habs picked to do it in 7. In Game 7, I think it's going to overtime. I think that's how close of a series it's going to be. And so far, it's been a razor close series besides Game 2, where Habs blew the ass right off them, and I loved watching it. But they did that for Claude. We all did it for Claude, as well as doing it for Kirk in his first game. Love Kirk Muller so far coaching. He's done a lot of things with this team that looks great. He's letting players play in positions that they want to play in if they're going to thrive in. So let's keep our fingers crossed they get the job done in this series. And either way, the future is bright. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is awesome. And that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. Got a little bit off topic at the end. But let me know what you guys think of this kid. Do you think it's just a flash in the pan that he's hot in these playoffs, or do you think it will continue? Because I really do think it will continue. That kind of play just doesn't come out of nowhere. That's something that's natural talent that you're born with. That I just believe this kid is just born to play hockey. Love what I see from him, and he's the future of the Montreal Canadiens, along with Nick Suzuki. So happy with what he's doing in the playoffs. Go Habs, go. Let me know what you think in the comment section. This is Open Ice Hits with Scotty to Hockey. Sorry I stalled a bit at the end. Over and out, guys. Have a great day.